I'm Michael with Zeppelin, and super stoked that Maud and Charlie have brought this together. I think it's just it's a lot of fun to talk about creativity, to talk about how to find opportunities in challenging times. And last week we started out with Heathen Brewing and talked about their ice cream truck of beer and how that's been going and how that was developed. And I was pretty involved in that one, working with Heathen through that. This one's a little different. I'm not directly involved. I've just been watching it like a hawk and loving everything I'm seeing from Old Town and what they're doing with the Brewers Market. So Adam from Old Town, that's the introduction.
Okay.
Adam from Old Town. And if you could just start off for those that may not be as familiar as they should be with Old Town Brewing, just give us a quick overview of what's Old Town, where you at, what are you up to, and then we'll talk about the market.
Yeah, so about 17 years ago, I purchased my favorite restaurant in Portland, Old Town Pizza, where I am now. And, just had a blast working here, but always had a passion for craft beer. And we moved to a second location across the river in Northeast, and eventually built a brewery there. And I knew that one of the key parts to building a brewery in Portland is that you better make some good beer. So that was pretty intimidating because, we just didn't want to make beer. And we have had a few great brewers and very fortunate to have some, awards for the beers that we've made and have, over time gotten some recognition. And we always just try to be innovative, don't take ourselves too seriously. As Jordan knows, who helps us with our videos, we like to have a little bit of fun. Part of being a brewery and small business is learning this during the COVID times. You have to be nimble and quick and creative. And so we've had to really rethink things in the last 6 months, kind of segueing into why we're all here. Reverend Nat, who we've worked with on beer delivery, that's one thing that a lot of breweries have done. And we've partnered with him, which has been really cool. We've had a relationship with Reverend Nat since our trademark dispute, and he's been just a great friend to Old Town. We were talking and we basically said, you have to scrap your business model and you have to come up with a new one. So, that's what we very quickly realized in the beginning of this all.
I give a lot of credit to Old Town as really being a leader in creativity when it comes to beer, even in normal times before all of this. I know Jordan Wilson is with us here. Hey, Jordan, if you don't mind unmuting yourself there, Jordan, just for a second, I'd love to introduce you, tell people what your role is at Old Town and say hello as well.
Sure. How's it going, everybody? Michael was saying my name's Jordan Wilson, and Old Town and myself have been kind of cutting our teeth together with just the whole beer side. I started working with them just like in-house, back of the house, front of the house stuff, and we kind of grew into just figuring out, how to take this idea of putting a brewery together and going out from there. And so really my role is just like to help try to drive like creative marketing, design, video, photography, just that kind of stuff. And it's been really fun. I think credit goes all the way to Adam just for like letting, the staff and the inner members of Old Town, because it's a small crew, it's like really two brewers, Adam, Joe, who most people know here in Portland, and myself, just kind of like that runs the creative department, and him giving everyone freedom to toss out these weird ideas that we've done has been sort of the foundation of like Old Town's funness that we've really tried to bring home, because that's kind of who we are. We're all a bunch of goofs there anyway, and so it just made sense to tie that into just more of the messaging over the last few years.
That's awesome, man. And you know I'm a big fan. I tell you every time I see you. But yeah, if you guys, you know, if you ever want to keep yourself up all night, go to Old Town's Instagram TV or Facebook videos, and you can just watch them all in a row and be up for hours laughing your ass off. It's fantastic. Um, but
To add to that, you know, Jordan is a lot of fun to work with, and he's very creative. And you know, most of the ideas come from the team. But you know, the only idea that I came up with was, you know, my kids were listening to this song "Old Town Road," and you know, I just went to Jordan. I said, "Listen, I keep hearing this damn song, and it has Old Town in it, and we've got to find a way to make it our own." And you know, he took it and ran. And you know, he's really talented. You know, Joe did his singing, but I have no singing or dancing talent. So Jordan stepped in. He was the voiceover, the singing talent for me. And that was like, I think that project right there, everyone got to really be involved. It's probably our most successful video as far as just the amount of people that have seen it. And it was just, oh my gosh, it was one of the funnest things that we've done at Old Town. So really proud of the team coming together and having a blast doing it.
that is awesome. So, real quick, from just a 20-foot level, before we dive into, you know, how the idea came about and everything like that, before we get to that, just what is this Brewers Market in a nutshell?
So the idea is, you know, and without getting too, you know, in the weeds, there were some problems that needed to be solved that we just were trying to be creative. But really what it's trying to do is to take, you know, advantage or captive of this whole comfort with drive-throughs, right? Whether they're, you know, restaurant drive-throughs or strip-through drive-throughs that have made national news. People just were, during COVID, really comfortable with the drive-through concept. And then also just realizing that we just needed to sell more beer, not just for us, but we also wanted to sell more beer for other breweries. And so, you know, when the idea hit, we just felt like we could solve a lot of problems and frankly, take something that is a really tough and sad time and just have some fun and build community.
So I want to try here real quick just to show folks what that looks like. Like you said, it's a drive-through. So people are driving through and they're seeing 6 or 7 breweries, and they place their orders as they roll through from a website, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to try this real quick just to show everybody kind of what that looks like with a short video that it's really just the end of a short video from New School Beer. Ezra from New School drove through, and I'll show you guys here what that looked like. See. So there's kind of a synopsis of what that looks like. I hope everybody saw that okay.
It worked really well, Michael. Well done.
All right. Oh, I need to go stop that video now. It just went into the next video. Glad it worked well on your guys' end. I had a little, there we go. But yeah, so kind of just to give folks an idea what that looked like, you saw the line of kind of drive-through stations that didn't look too unlike a beer festival that we would be used to seeing this time of year. And then you saw kind of the pickup at the end of it as they bring it out to folks' cars and whatnot. So let's back up and really talk about. You've told me this story already, so I know there's a little bit of a story there around how this idea came about. This wasn't the first epiphany right out of the gate, was it?
It was not. That's a really good point. So, my wife said this a couple years ago, and I think it really resonated with me. And she said, "Hope is not a strategy." So things are kind of sucky right now, or they were, and we weren't just going to hope things were going to get better. We were going to try to figure it out. So we had probably 2 or 3 different ideas that we were trying to launch, and all of them got shot down. Most of them were because they didn't follow the OLCC regulations. So we wanted to do the ice cream truck. It was a great idea that Heathen did. I think there was another brewery in Colorado, and we tried, and the OLCC said no. And we tried some other. Steve, who's a brewer, was really the one that kind of started pushing with different drive-through concepts, whether not necessarily at our location, but every idea hit a roadblock. And so, Jordan, who's part of the team, that's kind of how a lot of things happen in Old Town. Someone will come up with an idea, and we try to build on it or, add to it. So, we wanted to try to do something, whether it be delivery or drive-through. And finally, after talking to our attorney who was trying to get things approved, we were told that our idea wouldn't work because it required an event license. And the city of Portland is not approving events right now because in their mind, an event is where a bunch of people gather and do the opposite of social distancing. So I was just working out in the morning because I've been doing that to kind of relieve a little bit of stress and sometimes clears my mind to think, whether it be like jogging or working out. And it just the idea just came to me, and I almost didn't finish my workout because I was thinking this may work. So I quickly finished it up, went to the brewery, and I spoke to Steve and the brewers. I'm like, hey, I got this idea, how we can come up with this solution where we can help other breweries. We can, we had just heard about all these beer festivals being closed, a way that we can still gather in a responsible way, where instead of having one beer, you can have multiple breweries' beers. Delivery right now, one brewery was doing it at each of them were doing their own. And then the best part was that it didn't require a change to our existing license because essentially we're just like a bottle shop. We are taking orders through our online platform and then repackaging them and taking them curbside to people's cars. And so, the only part that was a little bit different is we had booths outside, but one of the keys, we couldn't serve any alcohol out there. And frankly, it wasn't important that people drank in their cars, which probably would look pretty bad if people took pictures. So, but it was a chance for people to talk to breweries and brewers and show support. And, we just, what's that? So it cleared every hurdle that we thought it could. And this was, it went from idea to let's do it to an actual brewers market in 8 days. And it was probably one of the most stressful things we have as a team have done. But frankly, we couldn't just wait around anymore. And the first event was it was bonkers. It was almost unmanageable because we still hadn't really worked out all the kinks yet. But the best part of it was the feeling that we got from other breweries who were, just so excited to be a part of something as close to a beer festival as they could. And then just, customers, they really were tired of sitting in their homes. They wanted to leave their house. And they also just wanted to show that they supported craft beer. So, it was a blast.
So I had to write that down. Hope is not a strategy. I was grabbing for pencil and paper because that's just good stuff. It's logistically bringing this all together. You had to, like you said, you got your ducks in a row pretty quick to pull this off in 8 days. Off the top of my head, again, outside looking in, I see a website, I see a logo, I see social media campaign. What are the other logistical things that maybe I don't see? Um, things that had to be checked off before you could say go that first Saturday.
Well, we did hear the OLCC was concerned, and so we had received a call. So we had to work, tirelessly to explain how it followed the rules and how we were going to follow the rules. And there was nothing to worry about. We also had to figure out how to basically run an entirely new business, which, just taken from an operational standpoint, we basically we had to create a warehouse where a ticket would print, and we would have what are called, anyone familiar with warehouses, 'cause that was my first job out of college. It was a picker. So I would basically get the ticket, and you pick it and put it into bags, and then make sure it gets to the right customer, and you ID them. And so we had to really, for a week, just shoot holes in how this whole thing could go wrong. And an example, one of the things that we didn't anticipate that we almost had to shut down the entire market was we thought the best thing was to auto print a ticket when someone placed an order. Well, in the middle of the busiest time, Square printed every ticket that had ever been created, and some were new ones and some were ones that had already been taken care of. And my wife and I were watching, and it was like a waterfall of tickets that was 3 minutes that didn't stop. And we all just looked at it, and I was wondering, do I have to shut the market down? Because how do I know which one is a new one? And it was so stressful. We pulled it together. We were able to catch up, but yeah, that was from that point forward, we manually print the tickets. We don't allow any automation on that, but yeah, there was a lot to learn.
Wow. That and maybe you can think of another example, because that pretty much answered my next question, which was what didn't go as planned along the way, and what was the greatest challenges. That's definitely a challenge. What's something else that maybe you ran into on that first run, or in the days and moments leading up to it, that you were like, oh, for 8 days of thinking about this, we didn't think about that?
Yeah, the other thing that ticket fiasco was by far the worst. And the other one, which surprisingly took a lot of stress out of the whole equation, is we opened up early for pre-orders. We always took pre-orders a couple days ahead of time, but what happened was everyone was coming at the same time. So what we'd allowed is that early pickup, which alleviated a lot of the pressure later on in the day. But really, I mean, those were the two biggest. Other than that, we were able to foresee most of the problems.
So, looking at you've got it's 6 other breweries each time. Is that right?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so Old Town and then 6 others. How do these breweries participate? What's that process like? I know we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago about a couple breweries that I work with, and them possibly being a part of it. So how are you reaching out to those folks, and then what do those breweries need to do to be able to participate that Saturday?
Yeah, good question. So it's been a combination of us reaching out to breweries and breweries reaching out to us. The biggest challenge has been, we really only have 2 requirements, and that is to have somebody work at a booth for the day. And then we've been just going with 3 different beers per brewery. And most have actually, a lot who have declined have been one of those 2. Either they don't have the beer. Surprisingly, there are some breweries that are really out of beer right now, or struggling to find canning days with mobile canning companies. So that's been a big one. And then other folks just don't have the personnel to dedicate to sit at the booth, which we think is an important aspect, is to touch and talk to customers. But our goal is to rotate through as many breweries as possible. We're just a little bit surprised that some just aren't able to, due to manpower or beer.
Yeah. I know when you reached out to me with Trapdoor, it was both of those hurdles is the only reasons Trapdoor really wanted to be a part of it. But getting the beer through Point Blank to you and staffing it were challenges that presented themselves. So to promote this and get the word out about it, I feel like we saw each other, Adam, about 4 days before this was happening,
Yeah.
and I loved it because he told me, "Hey, we got this idea. We're going to do this thing," and I was like, "Oh, I think you've got a thing. I think this is going to go really well." And then the next day, if not the next day, real soon thereafter, it was like the news broke that this was going to happen, and I saw the excitement from outlets like New School Beer and Brew Public and a number of places like that. But other than those news outlets, how'd you get the word out about this?
One of the things that we think maybe helped break things open a little bit was that KATU, who has the morning show, which is more your traditional media, right? Like New School and Brew Public, it's speaking to our beer community, but really getting people outside of our beer community can be difficult. They somehow got a hold of the story, and Joe V said that he hadn't done a live show since COVID. So it'd been months, and they decided that this was going to be the launch of their live show for the first time. And so they did a live show Friday morning, and I think they went out there at least 3 times, live, and spoke to each of the different, 3 of the breweries. And we made a makeshift brewers market, because I think also visually explaining how it would work was helpful. And I think that was the point that it kind of opened up.
That's really cool. I didn't know about that. I know, I saw some social media things happen around it, some different ads and things about of that nature kind of around it. What have you done since that first one to make sure the ball keeps rolling?
Right now we've just been doing our own social media, but paying for Facebook ads, sponsoring Facebook ads and Instagram. I think that's the challenge, is to try to get media attention after the first one, and our sales haven't been as strong as that very first one. We're also asking the breweries to reach out to some of their followers. One of the things that we have found helpful is breweries having some that are outside of Portland, and they've done actually really well, because it might be a brewery that instead of driving to Hood River or the coast, now you can get their beer, and they're right in Portland. And then the other aspect is just having a beer that's somewhat unique, not something that you can find in your typical grocery store. But we probably could do a better job of trying to figure out ways to stay on the top of mind with the media.
So coming up this week, who's involved? Who's going to be at the market this Saturday?
So we're waiting to hear on a few, but right now we have Cascade. We have Reverend Nat, Rogue, Yahats, Backwoods, and I think there are a couple that I may be forgetting that are waiting. We're hoping to announce tomorrow morning, but yeah, those are the ones so far.
Very cool. Kind of, and this is my last written question that I'd planned on. As you're moving forward now through this, and I know many counties have opened up to some extent, and now Multnomah County has at least put a date out there that's a potential phase 1 date. As things start to reopen like that, have you had talks about your imagination on what this looks like in the weeks to come as things start to reopen?
We are going to wait and see. We're not sure if this will, lessen the market now that folks can go out to breweries. The one thing that is still unique about it is if you want to, stop and pick up beer from multiple breweries, some of it which is hard to get. Hopefully that will still be meaningful and a place to say hi to brewers. But yeah, we definitely are having to be nimble because things can change on the daily. But yeah, we're hoping it'll still, become a draw. Farmers markets were always, big pre-COVID. So this is just another form of a farmer's market. And if the beer is interesting enough, our thoughts for people are going to still come.
I've even seen, in some towns, including Vancouver, Washington, even though they're still a closed county, their farmers markets have opened with half as many vendors, and lots of signage regarding distancing, wearing masks, that sort of thing. Do you imagine that this could evolve into something like that? Is it always a drive-through, or does it maybe evolve?
It's funny that you say that. We're always trying to think 2 steps ahead, and Joe, and maybe even Jordan had mentioned that to me as well. Like maybe we turn it into like a real farmer's market. There hasn't really been a brewer's market. We'd love to just, when people can walk around, take the drive-through aspect out and walk through. So we're trying to figure out what the public wants and be creative and also just have fun.
Well, that's great stuff. I mean, that's all I had for questions specifically. But it's, what I took away from this so far, and we'll open it up for everyone to be able to ask some questions here in a moment. But I really like what you said again about hope is not a strategy. As all of this was coming together, you have to build a plan, and you got to do that pretty quickly to pivot. That must be at least in my world, that's the word of the year. Yeah. Is pivot. You have to be able to pivot quickly and pull these logistics together. And I think it's great for us all to kind of go through this process with you, and you to walk us through this process of how these logistic ideas and things were handled, in addition to, from the outside looking in, it goes, this is a great idea. Why didn't I think of that, right? But then as you get into it, you start to realize, like, wow, that this is an undertaking to really shift your business model to be able to do this. I guess one more question is, do you chalk this up, and you don't have to get into numbers and figures or anything, but is this in the success column and it's doing well for your business? And then also, is it a success and making money for those breweries that are participating?
Yeah. First part of your question is, I think it cost a lot of money to launch this idea, and I think what we did find out is, the margins for retail are really slim versus a brew pub. So, just typically it's a 30% markup. So that's before the labor to run the market and the advertising and all the signage and items you buy. So it hasn't been very profitable, but it's paid for the staff and it's kept them employed. And frankly, it has been one of the biggest morale boosters that we've done as a company. And so I don't really look at this as, are we making money? I mean, eventually we're going to need it to pencil out, but it has done a lot for Old Town, and it's done a lot showing that we care about other breweries, which I guess goes into your next question. We've moved through a considerable amount of beer, and the idea was always to pay wholesale so that the breweries would make as much money as possible. That was part of what I wanted to do. And I told the breweries, I just wanted enough to cover running the event, which, we're able to do, but not really make any money. But yeah, the breweries have sold through a lot of product, and frankly, breweries like Public Coast, that has been, I think, a really big benefit to them, because they're now able to reach people that they might not have had their beer. And one of the things that we decided to do, while it's logistically super challenging, is we break up 4-packs and 6-packs. So that has been incredibly expensive on the labor side, but there's so much for the customer. I mean, so many people are getting one of this and one of that, and that might bring a new fan to a brewery. And if we're a part of that, that just makes me feel good, because we were once a tiny brewery that nobody knew about.
Yeah. I think you touch on something that, when we were talking to Heathen last week, talking about, laying that, you're planting seeds here during these strange times, COVID-19, the pandemic, the shutdown. You're planting seeds that you might not harvest immediately. That harvest may be down the road. I can tell you there's definitely brands and breweries that immediately come to mind when I'm thinking about, man, who's out there right now? Who am I seeing? Who's being heard? And because of what you guys have done with the Brewers Market, yeah, Old Town's right up there at the top of that list in terms of, wow, they did something neat during this time to and that morale boost. The people that you may employ for years to come, they'll remember being a part of something special, and that certainly has a value as well. That's just, I think, an encouragement to anyone that might be listening or watching this, that this has been a super challenging time, and it can be easy to kind of let your brain go to the dark side of woe is me, and are we ever going to make it? And when you start thinking about what can I do that at least cash flows right now, to make some noise and to make sure we're in a better position on the other side, I think huge. And yeah, my hat's off, but not really, because I haven't had a haircut. But my hat would be off to everybody at Old Town, because this is just really a cool thing. And yeah, with that,
Thanks, Michael.
I'll turn it back to you and let you moderate some questions. Thank you, Adam, for this conversation. I learned a lot, and I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, thanks, Michael. And it has done so much for pride within our company. You're right. It's easy to basically look at things half empty. And this one moment, while it's not been a moneymaker, has been probably when I look through COVID, aside from, the time I spend with my family, my Old Town family, we've done something what we think is really fun and cool. And it's brought us closer together.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, Adam, thank you guys so much. And so I had a bunch of questions, but you just handled them. But wow, what an incredible, I love the morale boost. I think a lot of companies are going to struggle bringing folks back on, and already are. So you found a way to keep your employees motivated and excited and contribute to the community, all within just insert expletive here time. But yeah, I want to open it up to questions. So folks, feel free to unmute if you have any questions for Michael or Adam.
Hey, Adam, Anthony here in Southern Oregon. Really cool story, and congratulations, and very cool what you guys have done there. A quick question for you is, what's the status of platforms like Grubhub and Uber Eats for delivery of beer direct from breweries?
We do not use them. I've seen a couple that do, but like a couple breweries do, but we don't currently. I think we're focused on working with Reverend Nat and that partnership and knowing that the quality of the product will be taken care of and explained.
Is it legal though? And say if you want to order, you know, beer with your pizza or just beer alone, can you do that anywhere here in Oregon?
I saw Breakside is doing it through, I think, one of those partners, but I'm not sure how. It must be legal. But yeah, it is legal.
So can I interject? We
Yeah.
actually, so I work for a distillery, and they crack down on us pretty hard, but we use Postmates, and it's a pain to get them because they're not designed to do alcohol. And so it's really, what we found is managing the Postmates website to actually order distilled spirits or even anything else. They had to do a lot of massaging. And so it doesn't, it's not completely user friendly, but you can do it. And it's almost worth it. Out of the orders that we get in a day, which could be anywhere between 50 to 75, about 3 of them are Postmates. So we've had no problem with Postmates once we've gotten them up and running, but you will have to work a lot closer with them.
And is that because you need them to check IDs, or is it just kind of like logistics of?
Personally, I think it's because they're idiots, but yeah, that's why they don't let me talk to people. Apparently, I am a little brusque, and I don't have a lot of time for bullshit. So I think it's just their system wasn't ever designed to do alcohol.
Yeah.
And so because there's an ID issue involved with alcohol, that they have to do that. It's one extra added layer, and it doesn't go on their platform easily. So, but they're pretty open to it. So just, yeah, it's worth doing, just to get as wide a net as possible. So thank you, Adam. By the way, we saw the market, and we were like, oh man, we wish we could get in on that. And then we're like, it probably would have been way more work for you guys to add hard liquor.
Yeah, we're using our existing license. So the challenge is we can't sell hard alcohol. And otherwise we'd love to do, get different kinds of alcohol involved.
Yeah, we would have loved to have done it. But it's a great idea.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was going to kind of share something I have realized here, at least in Southern Oregon. A lot of people are really excited about having the streets cleared of cars. You have your farmers markets, you have your things, but a lot of the hub, a lot of our breweries and, spirits and dispensaries, they're all located in a historic downtown. What I would like to see just happen through all of this is have like maybe 1 day a month or maybe 2 days a month where there is streets closed. You can allow the beer trucks, you can have a beer garden, you can have all of those things start manifesting in small businesses rebuilding their brand again in a local space that people can bike to, that they can walk to. I think that after through COVID, we're able to see the beauty of having a non-car experience and just a kind of like a walk up, share that space. And I think that this is an opportunity for a lot of our clients at Caputo or others to just dive into that. I think that it's something that people are craving, and that's that community feeling. There's no cars. Kids, they have balloons. God knows what's going on. Mom's over there. Dad's over. Yeah, who knows? Where's the dog? I don't know. Try this beer. That's what. But I think there's an opportunity with what you were saying, Adam, with your model, to take that to another level of creating a larger community and having that be something that can be showcased with that model throughout all of our communities.
I think that's a great idea. Portland, I just saw they're allowing the parking spaces to be used for outdoor seating. So that's about to launch. So I think taking what you're thinking of to the streets, although theirs is still sit down, but I like the idea of, you know, once a week having tables and businesses right along next to each other selling their products.
I know Tony and Michael, I know we discussed this when we had our little meetup, and Tony, you might be able to speak to. I know Portland was thinking about that kind of model of creating roadless areas and having businesses work together in more of like in my eye, kind of like a European feel of having outside plazas and stuff where businesses, maybe you sit in a centralized area and you can order from different places around.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. It's like more like that. I know it's not my question, but I'm already like 2 beers in, so I'm just gonna start. I'm just gonna mute myself. It's best. I think it's best.
Julie, I'm just gonna follow up on your thing, what you're talking about. It reminds me of I did a trip to Croatia a few years ago, and there was an 8 square block area in Zagreb where the streets were completely closed to traffic, and every restaurant had tables out front. And so I don't know if this was all day long, but the streets were not open to cars. It was just open to foot traffic, and then they were out for each restaurant. And it seems to really lend itself to what we're going through right now, where people don't feel comfortable being closed up inside, but they still want that experience of being outside. So good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I don't know if everybody caught what was happening over at my house, but I got a refill of a beverage.
Oh, of water?
Kirsten was helping, so I don't know if I'm like.
Oh my God, Maud, if that was your water, I would be driving to Portland right now for like some serious intervention. Like, Mama, that's not good, girl. No.
No. Kind and
call it brewer's water.
Carson refilled my beverage for me, so I just wanted to publicly say thank you to him. He's not there right now, but I'm really excited about this idea. And Adam, so you're talking a little bit about maybe moving forward with this. So when you were, I have a couple of questions with just one kind of like logistics of the space. You guys have a parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm assuming that was a kind of a key component and kind of a resource that you had. And maybe you can talk a little bit about how you were able, you know, maybe some logistics you had to kind of just boots on the ground logistics. And then in addition, how did you keep people safe? You know, what were the steps that your company took to make sure that people felt really comfortable visiting Old Town?
Yeah, really good question. So we were really lucky to have a parking lot. And so there were almost 70 parking spaces that we share with other businesses. And so part of it was talking to the other businesses who, you know, most of them were just like, oh my gosh, this is great. Go at it. Some of them are office, so they're not even working during the weekend. You know, why it was also helpful is that we couldn't find a space outside of our own because of the event permits not being, that was that roadblock that we hit. And that was our first idea, is doing something outside of our location. And then we thought, why are we trying so hard to find a location outside? Let's use our existing license and find a way. And that was the key part, was you know, it was hard at first to explain to the first round of breweries, you're going to have a booth, but I had to make sure there is no alcohol, not even filled, in the parking lot. The OLCC didn't want even a full closed can. And so, yeah, that's how we got around it. And then, what was your last question? Oh, safety. So safety, a lot of it was just doing what everybody else is doing, keeping the employees distant 6 feet and masks. But, you know, actually Ezra, when he asked the list of questions in his before he posted the story, he said, what are you doing for bicyclists and pedestrians who want to be a part of that? And that was kind of the moment where, gosh, you can't really in Portland say, this festival is only going to be for drivers, right? That would have been a terrible thing to do. And so just had come up with the idea, well, if you intersperse people between the cars, that's at least your 6 feet. And that's what we ended up doing, is that we'll just, you know, a group of a car and then a bicyclist and then a car and then a pedestrian. But those were things that were really key. Other issues were, we knew that people would be taking pictures. So we had to look at everything that was happening in the parking lot in the lens of this could be on social media. And what
could go national.
Right. So we didn't want a situation, and that was before it even started. The whole team said, listen, you may have people brewers that want to come and talk to you and want to gather and have a conversation. We need to make sure that this is a socially distanced event. And so that just took identifying early on and just being disciplined that if we were lured into situations, that could be a picture, and that's not, we needed to communicate that this was a safe event during COVID.
And Adam, I just want to say thank you for taking that into consideration. I know a lot of people are concerned about that. And I think that as a leader, you lead by example, and a lot of people follow that. So well done. I tip my hat.
Thanks, Julie.
Wow. So I just want to do a quick time check. This has been an amazing topic. It is currently 3:55, and we have just blown through some time with folks and great questions. And I just want to hear more and more and more about this. So you'll expect to see me on Saturday, that's for sure. But yeah, just any last few questions before I turn it back over to Adam and Michael to kind of finish up their conversation with us, because I do want to be respectful of Adam's time. I know he has been shared that he has been working more than any human should at all. So I want to definitely be thankful and respectful of his time. Any other last questions?
I have one. Hi, Adam.
How's it going?
Are you at the downtown location?
It's funny that you say that. I tried to pick a spot that had some light during the call, and then all of a sudden I've been noticing it's getting darker and darker, and it looks like I'm being haunted by Nina. But yeah, I'm upstairs in the downtown location.
Okay, right on. Mike, I guess a quick question. Have you had to board up shop there during the whole protest thing, or has that worried you at all?
I've driven down the first morning after the protests over the weekend, and this building and the neighborhood is rough, and there's a lot of graffiti. Not as bad as south of Burnside, but for whatever reason of this building, we've been spared. And, I'm really, really grateful. But, on Sunday, we closed for a couple days, and the staff, I gave them the option. They wanted to stay open. We did $27 on Sunday for business. So I just don't know what's going to happen with downtown businesses. It's really rough down here. And I just feel for all the businesses down here.
Yeah, I feel for you. Thanks for keeping it open.
Yeah. And also, but I do want to say I'm a big supporter of these peaceful protests. I think that, I was talking it over with my wife, and there's always a moment where things should have changed and they didn't. And, whether it was Ferdinand, who was murdered and it started World War I, like, I do feel like I'm trying to be optimistic. And I would like to think that there's some good out of it, and some changes that needed to be made long ago will finally happen. So part of me, while it sucks to look at what's going on around, I just feel like this country needs a lot of change right now. And I'm willing to bear it for as long as we all can.
Do you want to run for office?
No, I don't, but it's
for everyone. Woo!
This time in our nation's history, everyone is going to be able to vote, pretty much everyone, like we do here in Oregon, which is very disruptive. It's a change maker. So there's good things that are coming out of this.
Interesting. Well, fantastic. This is, and that's honestly, thank you for bringing up that topic. That is an extremely important topic, and a whole another webinar. That's
oh my goodness, right? So how do we get through the fire? Like, oh, what ring are you in? I don't know. I think it's the 5th ring of hell. I don't know. I think I'm on the 7th. Oh, girl, we got time. We got time. This ain't going anywhere for a minute. So, and thank you, Adam and Michael. That was very insightful. And everybody else that I don't know on here. I'm Julie with the Caputo Group down in Medford. So, yeah.
It was great to be a part of this. Yeah, really, really fun talking to you guys.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Adam.
Michael, thank you so much. Great information. Thank you for being willing to share your experiences and what you went through. Adam, absolutely. Thank you again for your time. And thanks for, I hate the word pivot now, so I'm trying to come up with a new word. Done with that word.
Sachet, maybe a sachet.
For sashaying into a space that not only supports your business, but also the beer industry as well. I mean, that's highly admirable. Michael, do you have any other kind of last pieces that you wanted to say before we kind of let everyone wander away into their spaces?
Can I get Adam and Michael, can I get your emails or can you post that in the comments?
I'll put mine in the comments. Right now.
I have never put something in the comments before, so I can't figure out. It's adam@otbrewing.com. How about that?
You're going to have me write after like 3 beers. That's hilarious. You're a dark.
I put it in the comments for you, Adam.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. I owe you. Oh, it's under the chat, right?
In the chat. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Lee, I could see you cracking up. I know you're muted right now, but you were laughing.
Oh, because that was what I laughed because I was like, really? You're going to make me actually write this down? I thought the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, that you got shit to do.
I was
like, really? You just can't type that in?
I couldn't find I was looking for the comment box and I couldn't see it, but it was the chat box.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll stick on